With God, there is always more. More love, more life, more freedom. Welcome to Zoe's Exploring More with Michael Thompson. C.S. Lewis once wrote, "Our Heavenly Father has provided many delightful inns for us along our journey, but He takes great care to see that we do not mistake any of them for home." Join me and the team as we explore the kingdom together, discovering the deep truths and offering encouragement for the journey. There is always more. Welcome to the Exploring More podcast, and I'm with my friends SJ, Scott, Jim, and I'm Michael Thompson, and we are exploring more of the kingdom seeds that God is distributing into the story, into our lives, into our heart. In part 3 today, we want to talk about some of the kingdom seeds that God is entrusting to us, to Zoe, to our mission, and how we are becoming distributors ourselves. It's an amazing thing to see and experience God giving and entrusting to us some different parts of the message, parts of the kingdom in which we can turn and share and offer and encourage and equip others. Guys, I came across this passage in 2 Corinthians that I want to read. It's another passage about kingdom seeds. And 2 Corinthians 9 through 11, this is from the Amplified Version. It reads, "As it is written, and forever remains written, He, the benevolent and generous person, scattered abroad, He gave to the poor. His righteousness endures forever." Verse 10, "Now He who provides seed for the sower and bread for food will provide and multiply your seed for sowing, that is, your resources, and increase the harvest of your righteousness, which shows itself in active goodness, kindness, and love. You will be enriched in every way so that you may be generous, and in this generosity administered through us is producing thanksgiving to God from those who benefit." Why I went after that passage is because it's really been talking about what we've been talking about for the first 2 parts of this podcast series, right? What did we talk about? Overcoming evil with
Good.
The goodness of God, right? He who provides seed for the sower and bread for food will provide and multiply your seed for sowing and increase the harvest of your righteousness, which shows itself in active goodness, kindness, and love, right? We talked about the most powerful seed that yields the greatest fruit is this sowing love into our hearts, receiving God's love so that we then can bear the fruit of God's love in loving others, right? What's the great commandment? Love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and others, and your neighbor. So he's encouraging us, right, that we know that the kingdom seeds in some way, shape, or fashion is being given to us that's true to that, true to the Word of God. He's going to equip us. He's going to sow into our hearts the very thing that he's doing so that we can join him, right, in this great mission and in this great battle for the heart. And that's what we found with Zoe. We've been entrusted. We've discovered some things as we've explored them more with God, with each other, and the things that we have learned, that we found, how the kingdom works, who we are in it, who he is, right? Heart of a Warrior, search and rescue, maps, weekends, environments for people to connect with God, for our own personal getting away with God as a team. We've done that. And there was something that happened just recently that I want to kind of kick off our podcast where there was about 10 of us, actually a dozen, I think we were a dozen of us that got away and just spent some time away in the story, in our stories, in what God was doing. Some great time praying together. We shared a lot in that weekend. And one of the things that happened in that long weekend, that 3-day weekend that we got away together, SJ, who really manages and leads kind of our content conversation, you know, the organizing of our materials, the audio, the video, some of the resources that go along with the book. We wanted to take this podcast to talk about the kingdom seeds that God's entrusted us and what we are then in turn inviting, encouraging, and equipping others with. The podcast being one of them. And maybe you're listening, maybe you're new to the Exploring More podcast. We're still pretty new on the scene, actually, with just a few months of sharing these podcasts, but there's some crazy things that are going on. There's some wild favor of God that's happening with Heart of Aware, with the weekend events, with audio and video. And so we wanted to just share a little bit about Zoe and what God's doing in our lives, in our hearts, and what in turn we're trying to offer and share for the hearts of others, the encouragement and the equipping of our friends and allies.
Yeah, Michael, it was really fun to get away for that weekend and kind of, bring the larger team up to speed a little bit about what's been happening day to day here in what we refer to as the Tower. We're here in our office in University Tower in Durham, and to share just how God allows us to partner with Him.
Yeah.
To reach so many people. It's fun.
Yeah, and some of this came from friends. It cracked me up. So SJ was sharing Saturday morning a little while back, and Scott's here and Jim's here with us for this podcast, and their response was, "Oh my gosh, I'm pretty connected to this, but I had no idea of the scope or the reach." So we all had a pretty good laugh about that. But then, as Jim said later on, it's not really that funny. I mean, I think it's really important. It would be important that people know and could identify, could connect with some of the other resources, maybe other than the podcast, if they haven't gone to the website or if they haven't looked at YouTube or recognized about YouVersion. So all of that to say, we just want to share a little bit about some of the good that God's up to in our lives, in our hearts, in our mission and ministry.
Michael, my reaction, that weekend was wonderful. We were up at the lake and just the fellowship was just extraordinary. But I had a similar reaction to Jim that I feel like I'm pretty close and I didn't know that. But if I could summarize that for our listeners, this is no longer Michael and Robin, and a little local band, playing some nice music. I mean, we've got 5 families on staff, 10 families, formerly in the group, and there are 15 kids and 8 grandchildren and 7 dogs, I think at last count, right? And that requires a different type of management, of oversight, of insight, right? Of almost corporate behavior. I don't mean that in a negative way, but I mean that this isn't mom and pop. We're not, setting up on the stage, and playing and then going home to a regular job. This is Zoe's job. This is Zoe's mission. It's full-time. It's 24/7. There's no part-timeness about it. And that's what struck me from our retreat.
Yeah, I love how you described it that way, Scott, because it really does lend itself to let me share about how serious this is. This is a serious mission. We're talking about the hearts of men and women and helping them to reach a place of orientation and freedom and love and life.
Eternally.
Eternally. Absolutely. So it's a serious mission. We have fun at the same time, but it is a serious mission that we're on. And so, when I think about being on mission and sharing this information with you, our listeners, I kind of think of it almost like the newsreels during World War II. You might not be on the front line day to day, but you want to know what's going on because you bought some war bonds, right? I mean, you want to, and you're supporting the war effort because you want to see evil destroyed.
Amen.
So this is kind of along that lines in the context of Kingdom Seeds, what God has asked us to partner with Him and be a part of with Him, and we just kind of want to keep you up to date on what's happening. So going back, Michael, gosh, I guess it was May or late 2016, you shared with me a friend of yours that works with YouVersion. Life Church, Craig Groeschel and Life Church produced this thing called YouVersion. Many of you probably have it on your phone. I would wager that the vast majority of the folks listening to this podcast probably have it on their phone.
Yeah.
The Bible app, YouVersion is what it's called. As of right now, or actually as of a couple of days ago, there's 330 million subscribers to the Bible app online. So there's 330 million downloads.
Whoa, that must be worldwide.
Yeah, that's worldwide.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Yeah, but if you think about it, that's almost the population of the United States has that on their phone. So we had an opportunity to partner with YouVersion and submit a couple of devotional plans. We've done 6 of them now. And by far, the 14-day Heart of a Warrior devotional is the most subscribed to. But we've had more than 75,000 unique subscriptions to the different devotional plans. And when that happened, we didn't understand that was going to happen. First of all,
Right.
we thought, man, this seems like a great idea to be a part of this. Let's see, what it is that we can share from our hearts, what God's put on our hearts, and see where it goes from there. And if we reach, a few hundred people, a few thousand people, great. Well, it's turned into 75,000 in under, I guess, a year, or maybe a little over a year or so. So that partnered with, other platforms. I'm thinking about going back to when Heart of a Warrior was first published in June of 2015. The number of books that we've had the privilege to share and sell is somewhere in the neighborhood of 16,000. The other book that Michael wrote, Michael would say that we wrote the book, but Michael wrote Search and Rescue somewhere around 7,000. Something brand new. You guys who are listening to this podcast, you may be a part of the demographic that listens to Audible book. It seems like, in my experience, I talk to a lot of guys, hey, here's this book. You might want to check it out. Well, I'm not really a reader, so now we have that option to share the book on Audible as well.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the funny, beautiful, wonderful things that gets to happen sometimes, SJ, is we're, going about our chores, going about the battle, and entering into, opportunities is directly related to the Spanish version. A woman in a Spanish-speaking country.
Yeah, I think it was Argentina.
Argentina, yeah. I was going to say Ecuador, but I think it is Argentina.
Mm-hmm.
She gets the Bible app, YouVersion Bible app, and she downloads the Heart of a Warrior. Now, this is a woman.
Yeah.
That downloads it and sends us an email that says, hey, I love the Heart of a Warrior devotional. Would you be okay if I translated it into Spanish and gave it to my husband and
the men of my
men of my family?
Yeah.
The men of my family.
Mm-hmm.
And we said, yeah, sure. So then we quickly thought, if you're going to translate that then to Spanish, why don't you send us a copy?
That's right.
And so that's what happened. All of a sudden, soon we'll be delivering at least the devotionals in Spanish. But then that got us into another conversation.
Sure.
About, what about Heart of a Warrior, the whole book, translated into a Spanish version. And so we're literally days away.
Yeah, it should be August 1 by the time
we'll have to revisit that email and let her know. She has no idea. Just like Tim with YouVersion, he had, I give him updates. Tim, we're at 20,000. Tim, we're at 40,000, and to tell my friend Tim that because of his suggestion, right? That's how these things happen in the kingdom. What feels like just a suggestion or a mention becomes monumental, becomes so significant. 75,000 downloads. And so her invitation or her ask, it was a request. Could I translate this into Spanish for the men in my family? And it moved us into a place where we believed God was moving us into a full translation. So we found was one of your friends who translated some of the other devotionals.
Yep.
SJ, is this what you call mustard seed?
Yeah. Started that way.
Story.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. And it seems like we're just, in some ways, just catching up to what God's doing in a lot of moments. And it's very organic. There's sometimes you just feel like you're idle, on the ocean, and then boom, you feel the wind and you get your sails up, and you're moving in a direction that God's moving. But things like that are just crazy stories of how the Spanish version.
Oh, I heard about German. I mean, you guys have talked to my wife about taking me to Europe.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The Heart of a Warrior weekend.
Yeah. So a good friend of Greg Sailors, who's on our team, is over there in Germany, and he's a warrant officer, and so around a bunch of military guys, and he's looking around, and look, no matter where you go, you can find guys who need a community, who need redemptive community, who need, a little help, and I'm one of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
we're still customers.
We're still customers too. Yeah. So, it doesn't take him long. Our friend Tim, who's over there, he gets these guys and he just starts meeting with them and going through the book. And that turns into a conversation with a chaplain at one of the bases over there in Germany, which turns into a conversation with a couple of chaplains at a couple of different bases. And now it looks like we may be going to Germany next year in
May
2019. Yeah. So it's so funny, how we talked about in the previous parts of this podcast, how important it is to prepare the soil for when the seeds are sown. And I think that's what we've had the opportunity to do is to, Michael, you and Robin and the folks who were with you, the larger team, Jim, Scott, you guys have been around a while, Tom, JB, Jay, all those guys, you guys have been turning that soil over for a number of years. And now these seeds are flying. I mean, the seeds they're not being spread by hand. There's some kind of machinery going on here.
Yeah, but I don't know if this is the coach in me or maybe in me and Jim, but God forbid that our vision is too small for the Lord's blessing. Come on now.
Right.
Come on now.
All right.
Our faith can't be too small for his intention.
Yeah.
Come on now. Right?
Yeah.
Come on now. If his vision for us outstrips our groundwork, shame on us. Come on.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
I get an amen? That's my
I can give you an amen. You're
That's
preaching
my
now,
attitude.
right?
Okay. Yeah. Let me step off the pulpit.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Keep your button on his volume, would you? He's getting pretty excited.
Well, I love the fact that Scott has said several times that this whole discussion is under the umbrella of Kingdom Seeds. And Scott's mentioned several times, or SJ's mentioned several times, that this is a partnering with God. I mean, this is all about what he wants done. We're seeking his will in this.
No doubt.
Amen.
Yeah.
His,
No
his-
doubt.
His direction. So here's where that comes from in my heart. I'm a Denver Bronco. I think I made it to the professional realm. We're having a max lift day. Al Miller, never forget him, Alabama strength coach. I put on 360 to squat, and that was my goal. And I get up, the whole team's watching, and it's a big event.
Yeah, max
day,
lift,
big
yeah.
deal. And I bend down and I hit the bottom and I power it up, and I complete the lift and I drop the weight and the whole place goes crazy. And I'm even adrenaline filled right now. So about 10 minutes later, I get back on. Now I just completed my max. I hit my goal. So they put on 365. Like I should be able to, the way I handled 360, I should be able to put up 365 like, it's nothing. It crushed me. It crushed me. Al Miller, I don't know if he grabbed me by the neck or the throat or the shirt, but he took me in his office so fast and he was so mad. He had a little spit coming out of his lip. He said, I don't want to ever see that again from you. I said, what, 365? I got my goal, 360. You set your goal too low. I don't want you to ever in anything do that again in life. Do you hear me, son?
Yeah.
I said, yes, sir. How about 375 next time?
Yeah,
but it was so powerful. And that's what I'm saying.
There's no question that, Michael, with your leadership and your guidance and your friendship, our vision for Zoe goes beyond our capability to complete.
Oh, amen.
I mean, it has to, because if our vision is small enough for us to accomplish without God,
and manage, right.
then it's too small.
Yeah.
That's good, well said.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's another part of this distribution system that God's, giving us to participate with him in the Kingdom Seeds. And, SJ, this was one that you had your finger on. It was another one of those. I remember you saying, well, what about putting the Heart of a Warrior DVD series on Right Now Media? And I said, what's Right Now Media?
Right.
And you say, well, it's kind of this Christian Netflix thing, this thing that the video, makes subscriptions and churches subscribe to it. And like, well, how big is it? And you were like 19 million or something. I don't know what it was. It was something big. I was like, really?
Somewhere around there. Yep.
And so, you carried the flag. You were on point with that. You got the Heart of a Warrior DVD series on, Right Now Media, which was another thing. This is just less than a year old that we've done that. And that's been a significant way for us to connect with hearts, with churches, with people who have that subscription. And, now they don't have to buy the DVD series, but what they do is they see it. And now they've entered into the books and the journal workbook. And we start to see hundreds of small groups of men launched
Yeah.
from that one suggestion you made.
Yeah, it was a real step of faith, I think, because if anybody that's listening has ever produced a DVD series, it's a significant investment of money and time. I mean, it's a financial investment. And so to give it away after you've made that investment it's one of those moments of, okay, God, this is what you say we're supposed to do. We're going to do it, and he's really richly blessed us as a result of
Yeah, I think of different resources on the web that are open source.
Yeah.
That's just what we felt like we were supposed to do with the DVD series. And I'll never forget we're sitting in the tower, we're circled up, and we're in the middle of kind of a team time talking and praying, and you get an email. I think you got an email.
I did.
You grab me like, oh my gosh, Michael, guess what? I mean, wasn't planned, wasn't a suggestion we made. They didn't ask us, but tell them that story. What happened?
Yeah. So I had been in contact with this gentleman named David at Right Now Media, who is the responsible for all the content that's available on there. And if you're a consumer of Right Now Media, you understand, what I'm talking about, the content that's on there. But there's tons of it. But I had been in conversation with him about, maybe marketing, or what does it look like to have the Heart of a Warrior Expedition DVD series? What does it look like to promote it to your 19 million people who are subscribed? And, we kind of went back and forth, and it never really, got anywhere in terms of what I was receiving in communication from him. It was sort of, I'll talk to the marketing people and that kind of thing, and you kind of let it go. So I did. That's what I told you. We just got to, we're going to throw it out there to them, and if they do something with it, they will, and if they don't, they don't. Well, that was about a month, maybe 2 months later, where we just kind of let it go. I get this email that says, we're promoting Heart of a Warrior to 1.7 million of our subscribers, and we'll see how it goes. And so the result of that has been
it was as significant though. It was 8:30, and he said, "Hey, you got the email," and he said at 9 we're going to start.
That's right.
We're going to start featuring Heart of a Warrior.
And then it popped up in my inbox.
They did an ad. They did an email. I mean, we didn't.
They did their own artwork.
They did their own artwork. It was really, really wild. That we're sitting there going, "Oh my gosh, Lord, what are we doing now? What what are we?" We kind of, at least in my heart and mind, I'm running around the office going, oh my gosh. But, sitting there trying to be calm about, here comes 1.7 emails going out. I mean, that was a wild God moment.
I absolutely was a wild God moment. And then I thought, are we ready for this? If 1 million guys requested a book or a journal workbook or whatever, would we be prepared?
And the answer was absolutely no. No, it's not.
Not even close. But so, it was sort of that shot across the bow.
Yeah, felt like we should start marching around the city blowing a horn, right?
Absolutely.
Like God does when he wants to take a city. It was a crazy day. But those are some great
So what were the results?
Yeah, so the results, the most recent results I have from Right Now Media, I just got a email the other day from David. And what's great too is, just as an aside, David and I have started a conversation that really has nothing to do with our partnership with Right Now Media. It has to do with his heart. So I got to send him a copy of the book and asked him what he thought about it and what was going on in his life and how he was doing. We love having those kind of relationships. But I got an email from him, and it said, in this second quarter, we've had about 6,500 views.
Wow.
Now, so what that means is, hard to say, because I can't compare it to, he's not able to give me information about what that looks like compared to other resources that are out there. But what I do know is this. 6,500 folks got to see that content that wouldn't have otherwise.
Right.
So we're trying to sow those seeds back out there that have been sown at us.
We're not sure we're setting any records at YouVersion or at Right Now Media for them, but oh my goodness, we're all back to your personal best, Scott, on the lifting.
That's right.
We just keep seeing this personal best, take place. And
what I hear that I just want to tell anybody listening is, there's such a stewardship in this office, among the leadership, starting, Mike, with you and Robin, and down through everybody, without listing the names, but the high fives and the excitement that we experience isn't because Michael's probably already qualified as a best-selling author with, 17,000 books or whatever that is. It's the kingdom seeds. It's the message. It's being part of something
Yeah.
that really matters. It means more than our Saturday morning basketball games, Michael, or more than the scoring records you have at Southwest Oklahoma State.
Penitentiary.
Or, whatever. I mean, whatever we did in
School
life.
of the
and there's
Gifted. Yeah.
significant things, but this is really way, way up there for all of us and how to handle it and be entrusted with that. And 6,500 is not only 6,500. 6,500 is, dear Lord, may we entrust, may we handle the 6,500 hearts that you've exposed to us with the care that you want us to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's really the vibe and the feeling and the heart of Zoe from top to bottom. Everybody involved feels that way. I'm sure of it.
Yeah. We've learned a lot from others. We've learned a lot from Ransom Hart and John Eldridge and Gary Barkalow and the Noble Heart, Graham Cook and some of his teaching and sharing. That was another one, SJ. We kind of said, why not? So we've been hitting record on the audio of the Heart of Aware conferences for the last, few years. And there's recordings of that audio. And, if you've been around YouTube, you know that YouTube has videos, but there's a lot of posting now of, audio content on YouTube. And so I came to SJ and said, I love some of the stuff I listen to on YouTube. Why not us?
Mm-hmm.
Why not put, this message, and it's, some of it's you guys sharing at Heart of Aware events, some of it's me. And so SJ started cutting it up and putting it on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's about 20 videos or audios that are up on YouTube, 10,000 views,
It's crazy.
from people just, and like all of us, we all kind of share what we're enjoying, what we're listening to, what we're reading, whether it's a book or it's a message. I mean, Jim's got a pastor down the road here that, he keeps sending us he's promoting the Redneck Preacher right
Mhm.
down the road just because it's touching a
Touches
nerve,
heart.
touching the good soil in his heart, and so we know that that's how this works. And like you said, SJ, it's the thing that's not out there that isn't clicked. It's the thing that's not, posted that doesn't get read, so the blog sites and the website, going through kind of a big web revision, like you said, Scott, to get ready for capabilities and capacities and being able to handle hearts.
Mhm.
When we got guys on the team that are committed, Jim loves to talk to the guys who are leading small groups, that are downloading the leader's guide, stepping into a relationship there. Greg loves to do that, so trying to be stewards of the relationships and the resources, but of the relationships is still really, really important. And how do we do that well as we grow and as our influence grows and as our impact grows in the kingdom?
We have the list here, and Scott, I hope I'm not stealing your thunder, but the prison ministry and the paperbacks for the prison, and we talked about German ministry and Robin's Brazen in January coming out, and a children's ministry, adolescent ministry, speaking to others. I mean, there's so much on the board. If I could bring all of the listeners into the, kind of our war room, our vision room where all these ideas are up there. And Jim is really the best at managing that into, hey, we can't do everything all at once. So let's make sure we execute it. And so there's a good balance, a good friction between the big vision and then what are we going to do today?
Yeah. What can we do today?
Yeah.
Right.
And I would also want to share this. I'm a very close relationship with I believe to be the Zoe's biggest donor, just in the aggregate and in dollars, and very significant for our being here and where we're going. And we'll get to an invitation to everybody for more. But let me put it succinctly. I went to our biggest donor, Michael and I did a year ago, and we said, listen, here's a metric. We have had 10,000 touches, book sales, web, apps, whatever, 10,000. And I was able to go to him, 2 or 3 months ago and say, brother, your dollars and your prayer now allows me to say it's 100,000 touches and growing. Man, that's a 10x return. When you start talking corporate, or you start talking philanthropy, or you start talking, what's the return on this? I mean, you guys are a nice band of brothers, and you play some nice music locally on the local band here on Fridays. But I'll give you some money. But what is there anything really happening? And the answer is a resounding, bellowing trumpet Absolutely. 10x. And I'm on record that I told you I didn't want to hear about 100 because we're on our way to 1 million. And I'm not bragging on that because, we're part of 1 million and 1 million some number. I just can feel the Lord entrusting us. And I can feel our stewardship of that entrustment
Being called up, yeah.
being handled well. And that's what he does. Those that can handle faithful in a little, buckle up.
That's
Malachi,
right.
test me, try me, and see if I don't blow the doors off your barns in blessing. I think that's where Zoe is.
Yeah, and we started today in when we were recording podcasts today. Scott, you talked about, how did you say it? You said something about the ground is reverberating, the ground is shaking, something's happening in the kingdom, and this isn't a Zoe thing. This is a
No.
kingdom thing.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's why this is part 3
Yeah.
of a 3-part series, right, on the kingdom and what God seems to be doing. I mean, we're just a part, and there's a lot of honor in that. We're a part of, a league of significant contributors to that. And, we've listed a few of them, and yeah, there's a lot of mission and ministries that are around some of these kingdom seeds. Belovedness, warfare is being talked about again more. I feel like more than it ever has in the last 20 or 30 years, since I've been around. I grew up in a church that they didn't talk about warfare literally, that the enemy is coming to steal, kill, and destroy, and has been stealing, killing, and destroying. And then the next question, how is he? And to explore that. So the kingdom, it feels like it's expanding again. It's cycling again. There's kingdom seeds that are being entrusted to a few, and it's not a few anymore. It's becoming more and more, and possibly even many. I mean, the number of ministries that are being birthed in kind of this bigger, larger restoration movement, reformation, healing, training, all of that. We're watching others that it feels like we're helping them get started, and then we're not hearing from them for a year or so. And come to find out there's 30, there's 40, there's 50 guys in that. There's outpost over there that's going on, in Texas, in Oklahoma, in Florida,
Ohio.
in Ohio. Oh my
Mhm.
gosh. Yeah.
Frank out in Ohio.
Yeah. Germany, it's just getting really fun.
Yeah.
And yet at the same time, there's a weightiness and a seriousness to how to be faithful, how to continue to stay the course. I'll never forget the woman that we were working with at YouVersion. I remember us asking her, SJ, well, what should we be producing, or what should we be offering? And I'll never forget what she said. She said, well, instead of looking at it as if you need to create or make something that people want, I'd much rather you guys create and make something that you love.
That God has called
That
you
God
to
is
share.
at work in.
Well,
Yeah.
What is it that you can't
Yeah.
not share?
That's right.
I hate double negatives, but I think that's what she said.
I remember it was like time kind of slowed down. That really landed softly on my heart, that this isn't about marketing. This is about, a faithfulness and an offering and a sharing and
Invitation.
a walking in an invitation as customers, and also then as distributors sharing. It reminds me of that Howard Thurman quote, right? Were you gonna
Exactly.
say it?
That's
Go ahead.
exactly. No, go ahead.
Yeah, don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive, because that's what the world needs, is more men and women who are alive.
I love it.
And that's Howard Thurman.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
As we're sharing here, Michael, there's several stories from guys that come to mind, and I think there's a responsibility that we have to really to equip other men and other women to share with the people around them. So we want to equip them to get their own hearts back, to get, as we've talked about, what's in the way, out of the way of them receiving love and healing from God. But then we really want to equip them to go after other men and women around them. So let me just share this. This is in the spirit of sharing kingdom seeds. One of the things I love about us as a team is that we want to spread those seeds. It's not just we get these seeds and they fall on the good soil and they just stay here. They produce a harvest. And like you've talked about, Scott, when you produce a harvest of apples, what's included in that harvest? More seeds, right? More seeds. So let me share this story. This one comes from a guy named Troy in Washington. I found The Heart of a Warrior through the Bible app, and I bought the book. It's the first book I've purchased in over 5 years. A prayer for my family would be for me to fully understand so I can go deeper in with the Lord as a beloved son of God and a warrior for him. This is what really got me. It's moving me now to be able to teach my children so they can teach their children the true way that God intended us to be, not what we think we're supposed to be. I'm getting a lot from this book, Zoe's Exploring More podcast and Zoe's YouTube channel. So, I mean, that is why we do what we're doing.
Yeah.
You know, and my bride, Sherry, is so great at asking these folks as these orders come in, share your story. Tell us how.
Yeah.
You know, you found it. Maybe in the future we'll do a podcast where we do nothing but share these guys' stories. That'd be fun.
Or get these guys on the phone.
Let's get them on the phone. That's right.
Yeah, but that's you know what? I'm doing the same thing. I mean,
Me too.
I teared up at that because that's what's happening in my life. That's what I want for my life. I'm speaking, but I'm listening. I'm sharing, but I'm taking notes.
That's right.
I take more notes probably than I share, which is hard to imagine, but I mean, I do. I just, that's exactly what I want. That's what I desire, what I need. And for me, selfishly. And then I love sharing it too.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just want to throw this out there to our listeners. You know, we want to hear your stories. Yeah. There's a place on our website you can go to share your story about how the ministry of Zoe may have impacted you. You can send us an email at support@zoe.org, ZOWEH.org. And if you go to the community part of our website, there's also a place for you to share your story as well. We just love hearing that and love hearing that, you know, the seeds are landing on that good soil.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not correcting you. I'm clarifying when I say, what's Jesus doing?
That's right.
What did Jesus do to you?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, we're Zoe and we're a team and yet, you know, it's what's Jesus doing in you, to you, through you. And so we love partnering with that. I think for our listeners, what's ahead, we're kind of a men's initiative ministry to men. And I think there's some women's initiatives that are on the horizon. Robin's working on a book. I'm involved in that, helping in this Brazen Hearts and what's it look like to live boldly and unashamed as a feminine heart. And so Brazen's ahead for us. SJ's looking at Zoe app so that some of these resources can be found in one place. You know, what's it mean to enter the world of an app for Zoe, and prison ministry, the possibilities of saying yes to some invitations. You know, we want to be careful. We don't want to lose our heart while fighting for everybody else's. So what's it look like to get away as a team, to refuel, to retool, to continue to discover the more? Because there's a lot of kingdom that we've yet to, you know, enjoy and receive and explore yet. But doing that together is really critical. So those are just a few of the things I know that are ahead.
Yeah, there's still a ton of ground to take back. No question about it,
right,
Michael. You know, we've, like you said, you know, had the opportunity, just like any of you do, to partner with Jesus and go after the hearts of men and women.
Right.
And so, yeah, there's plenty of ground still to recover and plenty of hills to take back. You know, one of the ways that folks can partner with us is really through financial giving. Scott, you want to just mention that before we wrap up?
Yeah, I'd written that down. We use the phrase PEO, which we all know what it means, but it came from our friends in Raleigh, right, who were initial grant to Zoe back in the day, in the infancy. And they taught us, and they said, we'll endow you, but here's what we expect. Here's how you handle our seed. The seed in the kingdom way. And it was very helpful to us. But PEO stands for participate, engage, and then ownership. And, you know, we're all in ownership 3 out of 4 years here are professional Christians on staff at Zoe, and I feel like I have ownership and want to have ownership. And that's participation is, one of those 100,000 that have been touched or touched the Zoe seeds, that we've been given. And then engagement is, maybe they've shared their testimony or shared or
been a part of the team at the weekends.
Part of the team, the service team or the guide team or the prayer team and so on. So there's engagement. And then, the last level we call ownership, which is, no, it's mine. Zoe is my ministry. I want us to succeed. I feel responsible for that message. And I need to do whatever I can financially, prayerfully, and I have ownership. And that comes at different levels. You talked about all of our people are self-supporting in terms of their fundraising on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
And then I have more of a special ops, which tends to be, where there's a 300-acre retreat site that the Lord has put on us. Well, who's going to do that? Well,
how are we going to
do that? How are we going to skin that? Now, we don't want to get away
from the Zoe app. How are we going to develop that?
How are we going to develop that, financially? And we have a Two Realms, Two Kingdoms production company, a film company that there's ideas on that. So our whiteboards are full of those ideas, but some of those bigger ownerships, are not everybody, right? There's a smaller group that Michael's asked me to. I don't know if I'm heading up anything, but we call that kind of special ops. And then, of course, Jim is the development, the day-to-day, the development director, I think would be a good description. And so those are all ways, the participate we have, the engagement we talked about, and then the ownership is something that we invite you to ownership. We with open arms, whatever that means for you, we invite you.
I've been walking with Michael from the beginning, one of his wingmen. And for the last 10 years or so, I've been begging him to give me a bigger role. Give me a bigger role, Michael. I need to be more involved. And finally, he, in a weak moment, gave in recently. And
that's mostly true. I don't know about that story.
It was an invitation.
Yeah, we needed a good coach, and we turned to Jim for coaching. That's for sure.
So I'll be working with Patrick on the development, as Scott said, and working with SJ and Greg on operations and just supporting, encouraging, coaching, helping where I can, and very excited about that.
Yeah, one of the things I love about what God's been doing with Zoe is growing the team, growing the allies for sure, but growing the team. And we've always had conversations about how this should look, how it should go, and what direction and what's next. And it's been good to have that kind of history. Even before SJ stepped into the tower and on the team full time, he was on the team, with bringing dozens and dozens, probably close to 100 men to the Heart of Aware events. He was one of those outposts who entrusted that outpost actually to a couple other men who he had invested in and were friends with and still are, and then came and brought, his skills and talents and abilities here to the day-to-day. And so we love having relationships, friends, and allies in the story, in this mission. And so would invite anybody who wants to dialogue a little bit more or wants to know more about how they can engage in some of the special ops. Our monthly partners really fuel.
They really do.
So much of our day-to-day. And if that's something God's putting on your heart, podcasts and daily orientations and the creating of those and the next audio, all that stuff is what we get to do day to day. So people who partner with us and support financially are really, really valuable, important, significant allies in this.
Michael, we want to squeeze at least 10 cents, if not 11 cents, out of every dime that you entrust us with at Zoe. I promise you 10 cents, and I'm going for 11 cents out of every dime.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah. So as we described, this kind of being a newsreel update at the beginning, and back in World War II, those of you that aren't familiar with, that's a newsreel is a short film. But we hope we've brought you back, kind of up to date with what's going on with Zoe and thrown out some opportunities for you to potentially financially partner. But I just want to say, as we kind of land this cargo plane, what is of most importance to us as a team, as a ministry, is that you are with Jesus, working on having that whole and healed heart that he promises, That is what's most important to us
Yeah.
beyond anything else.
Yeah. Amen. to
Amen.
that. Yeah. So much of this in terms of a philosophy, a theology, a practice, our mission, our hope, our goals, the direction of things, you can find a lot of that on the website.
Sure.
You know, who we are, statements of faith, community, initiatives, different things like that. I printed out this one paragraph, and I'll wrap up with that, about our part, our role, and our mission as far as Zoe in the kingdom and the kingdom seeds. It says, it's a given that we, Zoe, can't do it all, but we know what our part, our role, and our mission is. And upon that, we focus our resources, plans, and prayers. Because of our clarity and focus, we feel free to not be or not do that which someone else's mission might call them to in the body. We are a discipleship and friendship-centered initiative. That's our ministry. And it works primarily with believers. We're in the kingdom citizenship side of things. The message that we practice and teach is about the restoration of the heart, walking with God intimately, understanding and experiencing God and His larger gospel of love, life, and freedom, and the restoration of all things, and offering who we are to the world and others, rather than going to the world and others to find out who we are.
Amen to that.
Amen.
Amen and amen. That's a perfect prayer to end with, brother.
So if you want to align with us, if you want to connect with us, if we can help you in any way, reach out to us at support@zoe.org, support@zoe.org, ZOWEH.org. And yeah, we're for you. We want to encourage and equip you. There's kingdom seeds being distributed all over the place. If not Zoe, then find somewhere. Find somebody that is distributing the good that God's up to, so that can be the good that God's up to in your life and can lead you to your next mile marker, right? To your next place of healing, to your next space of training, because that is the good that God's up to in our lives, revealing who He is, who we are, where we are in the larger story, and that He is good. We'll see you next time on the Exploring More podcast. Thanks for being with us. We hope you have enjoyed this episode of Exploring More. The landing page for this podcast is zoe.org/podcast. That's ZOWEH.org/podcast, where you can find the show notes and various platforms to which we broadcast. You can also find us and the Life of More by visiting Zoe on YouVersion Bible app, Right Now Media, our Facebook page, and Zoe on Instagram and Twitter. Remember, with God there is always more, and you were made for more.